Hello, everybody, and welcome into Senior Living Live. My name is Melissa. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. Our webinar today is all about how to sell your home quickly and efficiently, and of course, for the most money, no matter what time of year you plan to put your home on the market. Now, we know that making that leap to senior living or just downsizing in general can be very daunting. So we recruited Joanne Rancich to give us some tips and tricks to help make that process as hassle-free as possible. Joanne will be here to give you a presentation, and she will be available to answer questions at the end of that presentation. Feel free to type your questions out in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. You can also put it in the Q&A box down at the bottom as well. I will be happy to read all of those to Joanne at the end of her presentation. So good to see you all. Thank you so much. Joanne, thank you for being here. The floor is all yours. Take it away.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here today, and I'm hoping that I can answer all of your questions. I do have a brief little PowerPoint presentation. Hopefully that will kind of walk you through the process of getting ready to sell your home and selling your home. And hopefully this could give you a little, maybe different perspective on how we do it at Presto. So time to move. And we're gonna start with thoughts on downsizing. So one of the things that we like to do at Presto is to, when you're preparing to downsize, is to get 3 boxes or buckets or bags and think about what you want to do with each of the items that you come in contact with. And, you know, aim for a small room or closet or drawer to start. And the first thing would be, you're going to make 3 piles. This says toss, donate, and keep. And I would say for a first try, this is what a lot of people do, is they keep way too much stuff. So we've done a thing where we say discard. So that's the toss. We do donate and deliver. And deliver is either deliver it to your new home or deliver it to somebody who would like to have whatever it is that you no longer need. So that's a first step in downsizing. And so we work with all sorts of people here. We have to consider who's moving. Is it you? Are you the senior that's moving? Is it your parent? Or is it another family member? We work with nieces and nephews. We work with sisters, obviously adult children, and even grandchildren. So depending on who it is and what the situation is, each of these moves is a little bit different. And where do you begin? And I think this is where Presto sets itself apart. The number one thing, or the first step where we begin, is for you to choose your new home. If it is time to make the move into a community, into an arbor community, and I'm in Naperville, and Arbor Terrace is my local arbor community, a beautiful newer community. You've made the decision, it's time to go. That's the first step. And then we can help decide what you need. Either we at Presto can, or a senior move manager, or a move-in coordinator at a community can help you do that. And along with that is plan your new space. These communities have floor plans, and we can help decide what you want to bring and will it fit, and how is it going to fit, and how is it going to fit safely. And then we can pack and move you, or someone can pack and move you and resettle you so that your belongings are now put away in cabinets. Your dresser is full, your closet is full. There's no boxes the day of that move, right? So now you're in your new home and you are disconnected from the stuff that's left behind. and it's a less emotional connection to all the stuff that's there. So you still have time, you could still realize, well, maybe you shouldn't have brought the rocker and you should have brought the recliner. We can still switch that out. It's not like the house disappears on the day of your move. So give it a little bit of time, and then we can worry about emptying out the home. Maybe there's enough stuff that we could facilitate an estate sale. Once the house is empty, we can look at it and repair and refresh your home. There's a couple of slides that we'll do, and then the home is ready to sell. And why is it so hard? If you look at the pictures, it's hard to see, I know, but there's garage fulls, there's room fulls, closets fulls, basement fulls. There's repairs that need to be done. I'm working with a family right now where they have mom's china and stuff. They have the husband's mom and dad stuff, and they have Aunt Ruby's stuff. And they don't want to get rid of it, but they can't take it to an apartment in Nashville. So there's so much emotion connected to all this stuff. So choosing your new home is hard. Are you going to buy? Are you going to rent? Who's going to help you? And is it local, or have you already moved out of state? And do you need to move back home because now that's where the kids are? And I know that first step, choosing your new home and making the move before you sell your home, is daunting to a lot of people. And for some people, it's not financially viable. So there are companies that will provide a bridge loan for seniors or their families to do that, so that a sale is easier to complete once a senior has left the home. So one of the companies we work with is called Elder Life, very reputable, nationwide, and they will work with you to secure that loan. Within 60 days of approving the loan, you need to get the home on the market. During those 60 days, we can come in and we can do the rehab that needs to be done to get more money for the home. And that usually can then offset the interest that accrues on the loan for those 2 months. And the loan then is paid at the closing table. And you have to decide what you need, not really what you want. And we're usually going from a home that we've lived in for a long time to a much smaller space. And so needs generally tend to outweigh the wants. Maybe we can get a few wants in there, whether it's artwork or a particular table or a plant, but there are certain needs that have to be met in the smaller space. And like I said, we can help you plan your space. This looks like an awfully big apartment that somebody would be moving into, but sometimes if you have a king size bed at home, they generally do not fit into a senior living apartment. And is there extra storage? You've got to decide, how many Christmas or holiday decorations are you going to be able to have, that sort of thing. And pack and move, who will do it? A lot of family members live nearby, but they have kids who are playing baseball or soccer, or, they're working full time. So there are companies, senior move managers that will help with this. Now it is an extra cost, but sometimes it is worth it to know that it can be done, a pack goes in one day and then the move and the resettle is the next day. So there are resources available to you. And then we worry about emptying the home. And will there be an estate sale? What do you do with all your old papers? Do you have a shredder? And do your kids want anything? And we find for the most part, kids don't want anything, unfortunately. And one of the things we can do is we can refresh, and I apologize that these pictures are so small, but we can do new flooring, tear up the old carpeting and put in some vinyl luxury vinyl plank flooring, or laminate flooring. Refresh kitchen cabinets or counters, put in some new appliances. And the biggest thing that makes a difference is light fixtures and just brightening up spaces. Even just taking down old shears and draperies can make a huge difference. And then it's time to sell your home. We work with investors, and so you may not want to do anything. You may not want to have to take anything out of the home. You've taken what you want, your kids don't want anything, and there are companies that will come in and buy it like that. And you generally get less for it, but it sells very quickly and you don't have to do anything. If you want to maximize the value and the cash in your pocket, I would suggest finding a realtor and discuss all your options. And, maybe you interview a couple of real estate agents to do that. Be realistic about what the market is doing and what the value is and what the shape of your home is in. And find out what it would be worth if you did put a little bit of money into it. And do you owe anything on your home? And in Presto's case, if we do some rehab on the home, if we do paint it and put new flooring in, for example, those costs can be paid for at closing. So, with Presto, we are a one call, we do it all. If a senior is moving and they don't really have relatives nearby, they can give me the key and I'll put a lockbox on the door, and I will coordinate having people come in, the clean out guys, the painters, the floor. I give them a code to get in and out. I'll hire a professional photographer to come in and take pictures. I'll do the measuring of the floor, the room, so that we can get it listed on the MLS. And obviously in this market, homes are going very quickly. So it works out well to have the home vacant, especially for a senior in this market, because there are so many showings and you don't have to get out of the house 12 different times a day. You're settled in your new home and you can be comfortable where you are.
Great job, Joanne. Thank you so much. And I still think that we were able to see those pictures pretty well. It looked really nice, actually. And that option of being able to sort of sell, but not have to worry about leaving your home on a consistent basis, to have people and strangers, complete strangers, walk through your home, I think is a really good one that many people don't know about. So I love that aspect of your presentation. Guys, this is a really good time to get your questions in for Joanne. Anything moving, anything about downsizing, this is the woman to ask. We do have one question in from Anonymous, Joanne. And the question is there or are there any special considerations when selling a home if it is listed in a trust?
No, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So, we generally work with attorneys, especially here in Illinois, and there are two different ways we can do it. We can list the owners of the home as the trust, depending how the tax records are written, or it can be the names of the owners. As it's transferred in title, then the lawyer, the attorneys, right after the property is transferred, they can do a quit claim deed from the trust. So, and it doesn't cost anything extra to do it that way.
Okay, interesting. And do you know about how long on average that takes for that quit claim deed to go through officially?
Well, it depends on the county.
Right.
And
right.
who's working in the county. I was working with a young woman who was recently divorced, and she tried twice to do it herself to get it through the county, and they kept bouncing it back. Our attorney did it, and he had it done within like 14 business days. So just, it's a matter of having the right people put the paperwork in. So
perfect. Okay. And a question here from Greg. Can you please put up the last web page with the QRC? I think that is a great point so that our viewers can maybe put their phone or their iPad or a pad in general up to that and utilize it. And while you're doing that, Joanne, we've got this question from Sherry.
Okay.
And Sherry says, parent here in Georgia, home in East Tennessee. So we're talking about two different states here. The home is in East Tennessee, needs to sell the home, but need to have appraisal on many valuable items, antiques first to know values. Now, that is an excellent point because there are so many people like that have, 30 years worth of stuff that if they're downsizing, they may have some wonderful treasure in their home they don't even know about, and they'd like to get the value of those things. So what do you recommend in that situation?
Absolutely. I would see if you could find a senior move manager in your area. You can go on the website for the National Association of Senior Move Managers, so NASMM.org, I believe. Or you could just even Google estate sales. Look for people who have good reviews, who deal in antiques, who would be nearby. Word of mouth is a great thing. Sometimes there are even like consignment shops that specialize in certain kinds of antiques. Obviously in East Tennessee and in Georgia, I'm not familiar with anybody over there, but that would be the first place that I would go, especially for very specialty items. An estate sale tends to be very general for household items. If there's a collection, I've got one I'm going to be doing, and the woman has a collection of dolls. And that won't be included in the estate sale because they're very specialized and have a unique set of buyers that wouldn't be coming, kind of more nationwide. So those will be done on a separate basis. So that's where I would go.
And what would you say to somebody who has, something like that, like a collection of something special, whether it be baseball cards or something sports related? I think we all have maybe a couple of those things in the home that may be worth something now. Do you suggest the same thing for those particular items?
Absolutely. And maybe that would be more of a nationwide search. That nationwide, there are people who specialize in those very unique collectibles. But again, be very careful. I would do word of mouth if you could, if you know anybody else who's, you collect with or work with that does those, because there's a lot of fraudsters out there who are very happy to take your belongings or your money. And I would hate for that to happen to anybody.
And what do you think about, there are quite a few of these online, Joanne, these sort of online garage sales. Do you recommend any of those, or maybe not so much?
I know of clients that have done really well with Facebook Marketplace because that tends to be very local. And a lot of this was done during, the early days of COVID, where you put the picture up and you just can put your rowing machine or, your end table or lamp right out on the driveway, and they come and pick it up. It's all done by Venmo, nobody's exchanging cash, that sort of thing. Those are easy, but in terms of, obviously collectibles or stuff that has a much higher value, I would stick with professionals for that sort of thing. And There are communities, if you live in a gated community or a condo building, you really can't do an estate sale because they don't allow the public general access to communities.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Now, you gave and the name of an organization online to go to. Can you give us maybe phonetically the web address? I tried typing it in as you said it, but I don't think I have the right web address.
Okay, let me do it. Just one quick second, because
Sure.
I want to make sure you give everybody the right one.
Okay. And then once we get that from you, I will make sure we put it in the chat box so that our viewers can certainly see it. And I see we do have the guest put it in, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. as in Nancy, or November, Alpha, Sierra, and then Mike.org. So
Yeah.
great job, Sherry.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah,
Yes.
so there it is. We were able to get that in. And now a question here from Anonymous: selling or donating biblical theological books. What about that or those items? Very special and unique items.
Books are hard to sell. There are sometimes libraries that take them. In terms of religious, if there's any historical value to them, sometimes a historical museum in a town or a county would take them. If there's a religious college nearby, they may have some interest in them. And there are organizations, there's one near me called Scarce, SCARCE.org. They will take donations of almost any kind, and they reuse and recycle almost everything. So there may be something like that near you. And they, even like used crayons and markers and stuff, they give a lot of stuff away to teachers and preschools and that sort of thing.
And on the heels of that, as we talk about things that maybe we know we don't want anymore, and I think you mentioned this in your presentation, these sort of companies that will come out and pick up your stuff. Because listen, when we're moving, we want to hit the easy button. Somebody who just recently did this, if somebody can come pick up some of the items that I know I cannot sell, you can't just leave those things on the curb, right? So can you give maybe a list of people that maybe nationwide sort of collectively do this?
Well, I think every area is different. The Salvation Army, I think, is nationwide. They are a great resource, and they will come and pick up stuff. Near me, there's one called Restoration Ministries. There are furniture banks nationwide. I think it started in Chicago, and they will come and pick up your stuff. They ask for a donation in order to do that. There are charities in different areas that are affiliated with churches, or like shelters that are looking for furniture for apartments, when they are trying to house or shelter homeless people. And so I think sometimes it's just doing yourself a little search online and see if they will come and pick it up. Sometimes they want photos because they really want to make sure that they're getting quality items. People are not just dumping stuff on their doorstep, because then they have to pay to get rid of it. Most places will not take TVs, and they will not take mattresses or cribs anymore, just from a safety standpoint. So those are just 3 things to be aware of. That.
Yeah, I understand the mattress part of it, but the TVs, that's interesting. Do you know why?
Because most of the TVs people want to give away are the old tube TVs that are super heavy, and you have to pay to get rid of those now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have some people who are chiming in to sort of offer up some advice. And yeah, feel free, guys, if you have some things you want to add to this conversation, by all means. Sherry has done an excellent job adding to the conversation today. She said often stagers will buy books to use in staging their houses for sale, which, yes, of course, if you've got bookshelves, we don't want them empty. We want it to look like somebody's living there and comfortably living there. And then she also mentions Habitat for Humanity will come and pick up items, which is also very good to know. Another nationwide organization that you can pick up the phone and call today. And Anonymous also said, also try Habitat for Humanity Restore. Yes. And then Melanie over here in the chat said universities may take books if they have a religion department. That's a great idea. And she also says you can donate to Friends of the Library book sales. So some great tips from our viewers here. I love that so much. So if you have questions for Joanne, this is a great time to get them in. Joanne, this is an unprecedented, it's just unprecedented right now, what is happening in the housing market, right?
Yes.
So legitimately right now, if somebody says, should I wait until the fall? We know interest rates went up. We know that there's just a slight, tapering off of home sales because of that. So should somebody act immediately if they want the most, like the top dollar for their home selling the fastest? Is this the time to get in and do it right now, or should somebody wait and see what happens?
I would say the sooner you do it, the better. Just based on kind of what we're seeing with the market, we've kind of hit a plateau. So, every house now is not going over the asking price where 2 months ago they were. They're not selling within the first 4 or 5 days. They're selling, but it's taking a little bit longer. And interest rates are, the Fed is going to increase that rate by 2 points, 2 discount points in June and in July. So it's not a direct correlation, but it will affect mortgage rates as we continue through the year. So they are going to go up, and that is going to affect buyers' purchasing power. And so if prices continue to go up and interest rates continue to go up, there's going to be fewer buyers that can afford homes. The affordability is going to become an issue. So I would say your chances are better today, just because nobody really knows what the future holds. Do I think we're in a bubble? I think we're kind of at the top of the market, because I think it's unsustainable, just because we're going to run out of buyers who can afford houses at these prices.
Sure. And just to get your take on this, before we get to the next question, because I'm really interested just in trends. People look back to 2008, 2009 with, the housing situation, the crash then, and what it did to housing prices. And people look at what's happening now, and it's a very different scenario, right? In terms of the lending isn't what it used to be, so in terms of people being upside down, or issues we had in 2008, not as similar as to what we're having now. Do you think, Joanne, that these prices will come back down, or do you think they'll stay kind of where they're at this top end? Because even, let's just put it this way, even if we don't, if everything just plateaus, the prices are still astronomical in many places that never used to have such high cost of living.
Right. I wish I could foresee the future. I don't see the crash like we had before. Like you said, that the same financial underpinnings aren't there in the market. That being said, I think that demand is going to dry up just because the affordability isn't there. And so when there aren't buyers, the seller's market goes away, so prices have to adjust, right? So price is going to be a factor of supply and demand. And so as we have more supply, which we're gonna, as demand goes down, sellers are going to have to lower their prices. Are they going to fall like they did last time? I don't see that happening, but there will be some adjustment, I think.
Okay. And then the final question on that I do want to get out, just because you're a professional, you've been doing this for quite some time. Again, a difference from what we saw in 2008 or 9 to now is the corporations, the number of investment groups that have come in and bought these homes and sort of taken them off the market away from, families who could have purchased those homes. And that's a whole different segment of kind of what's affecting things right now, it feels like. Do you think that even if we sort of plateau, does that buying power stop for them? It may stop for the average person, but does it stop for those companies? Do you think? What do you think on that end? It's an interesting topic for sure.
It is an interesting topic. I don't know, because are they turning around and renting those homes?
Mm-hmm.
So if people aren't able to afford a house to buy, they have to rent. And so the renters pool is bigger. So they still have demand for rent, and then they're still making money. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. It would be really nice if we could put some kind of moratorium out there that for the first 30 days that a home is on the market, it has to be owner occupied, which they do for some of the HUD homes and FHA foreclosure homes from way back when, that in a just a regular sale, those are not, somebody can sell to whoever they want.
Right. It's a tough market for sure. And it's been tough. I've seen the comments and people trying to buy something for their families, and it's just tough. So, and I know all of you out there, if you're selling, it's great. If you're trying to buy, because when you sell, you have to go somewhere, it's a little bit tough. So if you're going to a senior living community, hey, we've got you at Arbor. So no problems there.
Yes.
Yep. All right. A question here from Sherry. What do you do with family heirlooms and things like wedding pictures, documents, etc., that you do not want to donate, but your parent doesn't have space or you don't have room for to put them anywhere? Do you throw them away? What do you do with these special items when there's nowhere to put them?
I would digitize them.
Oh.
There is another service that Presto just locally does. We have purchased a machine that does that will put them either on a flash drive or a DVD or a hard drive, and then you can share them with the rest of the family, and then you can discard the pictures once you've preserved them in some sort of digitized format. And there are companies across the country that do that. There's a legacy.com. I think even Costco or Walgreens can do that. So that might be something to look into, because once a picture's gone, you can't get it back.
Right. Yeah. Right. And those are memories. So when you think about those photos taken from over the course of many years, and we have many webinars about Parkinson's and dementia, those are things that become really, really special. When a loved one may be suffering from any one of those diseases, that, to be able to have those memories still somewhere is key. I love that idea of digitizing. It frees up the space, and it's just, on a thumb drive or on a CD, and that's it. And it's wonderful. So excellent tip there.
That was a great question, Sherry.
Yeah, it was a good question, Sherry. Thank you so much. And she said, great idea. Thank you. And on that end, Joanne, anything else that those little tips or tricks, just like that one that you had, that many people don't think about, and it becomes an aha moment when you tell them?
So we know that, our grandmas always had silver, or they had sets of china, and none of the granddaughters or grandsons or their wives want it. But I really have a feeling that 25 years from now or 20 years from now, they're going to say, I wish I had whatever. So there are companies that can make little, like, fruit stands where they take a plate and a bowl and a saucer, and they make just a little stand. And so you get 3 pieces of it. So you have, just, what the china was or what the pattern was, and each granddaughter or son or whatever gets something. Or you make a ring out of the spoon or whatever, so that, everybody has one little piece of what grandma had. And I think, while they may not appreciate it today, I think at some point they may, and it's a way to just pass something on. And I think that the senior feels a little bit of joy in doing that, because they are so sad when nobody wants it. And when they don't do that, I always tell them, leave your everyday stuff here and take your china with you. Take your 4 china plates and your 4 china bowls and use them. And if you break them, it doesn't matter. Get the joy out of using them now. And some of them are still a little hesitant to do that, but a lot of them will bring it. And I think they're happy that they do.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Another great tip. And Sherry's adding here, a website, replacements.com, will buy them too. So another option there as well. I love this. I love this interaction and this banter with the audience today. This is great. So many wonderful tips. And, you know, we sort of touched on trends, Joanne. What are some other kind of maybe not so well-known trends that you're seeing within the housing market, buying and selling right now?
Let's see. I think flipping is kind of not as popular anymore, just because I think it's done and we're at the higher price point now where, you know, people have done it. I think people are staying in their homes longer. Seniors are aging in place, and that's another reason that the housing crisis or lack of inventory is where it's at. We've got the millennials who came home and, you know, the job market wasn't great and they were living in their parents' basements and that sort of thing. And now they're wanting to start households, and there just isn't enough housing because the builders didn't stop, but they cut back on how many housing units they were starting. And we are really, really behind in how much housing we should have. So I think, and as investors, like you said, are buying some of these up, we've got to start building more houses, I think. And I think maybe senior sharing houses is something that we've talked about here, where you get the camaraderie. They're not ready to go into a senior community, but because they're still very independent, but they don't like the isolation. They've lost their husband. And, you know, we've talked a little bit about that in some of the senior care provider communities or organizations that we're part of.
Yeah, and that's something that doesn't get a lot of, it's not really a topic of discussion, but you hear it every so often. You hear about that, and it, like you said, it sounds like it may be a perfect fit for certain people. So are you seeing those maybe in like kind of neighborhoods or pods, or do they just end up being one house here or there, or what does that look like in your city?
It's just one house here or there where, you know, somebody, you know, their husband died and they really can't afford the house anymore. And so it's just more word of mouth through, you know, the Naperville Senior Services Committee or, you know, the county or whatever. And they'll say, oh, I know so-and-so. So it's not like a big committee yet, but I do think it's starting to gain a little bit of traction.
Yeah, and that's a great, it's a great alternative, right? It's, you know, if you're still active, still very much independent, and as you mentioned, people are sort of aging and are healthier now than we've ever been and are living longer. You know, that may be a great option for somebody before maybe their next step into senior living, right? So I really, really like that you mentioned that very much. We are a couple minutes away from closing our webinar here today. So if you have any final questions for Joanne, anything about moving, selling, you know, downsizing, this is the perfect time to get this in. Joanne, so if somebody, we saw your contact information, but if somebody wanted to reach out to you today, they've got additional questions, can we see how our viewers can get in touch with you?
Do you want me to put that screen back up?
That would be great. Yeah, one more time so that everybody can jot that information down, just because we've had some discussion now and somebody may have additional follow-ups based on that particular discussion.
All right, let me just find that right screen. There we go.
Great.
Oops.
And how are the fees structured? Is this a typical, you know, buyers, sellers fee? How does this work, Joanne?
Again, every situation is different, and it will depend on the scope of the services that Presto is going to provide. So if, you know, and you pay for the services that you need. So if you're going to need, you know, a pack, move and settle, we'll have a move coordinator come out to the house, give it for no cost, to give you an estimate based on the floor plan and see how much packing needs to be done, an estimate of how many boxes, and how many packers they'll need to send on that day. And we get a quote from the mover based on what size room they're going into, and we'll give a quote. And no work is done until the senior or their family, their POA, whoever approves a quote. So then the move is done, and then we can take a step back, and we get a quote for a clean out. And again, that has to get approved. So if I am going to be doing the whole thing, if I'm going to be put in charge of an estate, facilitating an estate sale, a clean out, having the house cleaned, we're going to get painters and flooring guys in there, I'm going to charge a 1% management fee. And so that we paid at closing, and then we'll do the 5% commission on the sale of the home. And that obviously is all paid at closing. And the fee for the cost for the painting and all that, the estimates are done ahead of time. Those are, approved. And then those invoices also get paid at closing. So nothing needs to come out of the senior's pocket until the home is sold. And it really is as easy as possible. So a senior can give me the key and they don't have to go back to the house unless they want to.
Perfect. We'd like to hear that. We like to push the easy button on things, and that is certainly one way to do so. And Sherry is coming in here towards the end with a couple of questions. So we're going to get to these. What is a reasonable commission rate, excuse me, for estate sales?
I like ones that charge just a straight fee. So the few that I recommend and work with on average charge 40%. The family makes 60%. The estate sale makes 40%. And there's no extra fees. There's no advertising fee. There's no parking fee. There are some companies that you would not believe will tack stuff on where the family ends up making almost nothing. And so I just won't work with people like this. So the two that I like the most are both family owned, family run companies that I trust. And so those are questions that I would ask up front. Are there any additional fees? When do I get paid for the sale? How long are you, do you run, when is it going to be held? Do you do a half off day on the last day to try to maximize it? Because if it's in the sale, you don't want it and you'd rather make 50% on it of the sale on Sunday. Is the clean out included on Monday? Will they come and clean everything out and when it's over, that sort of thing. So just make sure you're very upfront and know exactly what they're charging you for.
Yeah, and you mentioned sort of that 60-40 split, which is, as you mentioned, fairly normal. But Sherry does want to know, what is the highest that you've seen, as she's trying to sort of get a benchmark here?
Only one time somebody was 50-50 and the family just said, no, we don't want to work with them. There was another one that was 65-35, which sounded good. But then we went online and read the reviews, and these were people that then would charge by the hour for all the extra people that they hired, for all the time they spent setting up, which you could spend 100 hours setting up depending on how much stuff and how big the house was. And then families, this was the one where people literally walked away with almost nothing, and it was a big sale. So you just really have to be careful.
Yeah, and that's why we have these webinars. We could talk to people like you that can tell us what to expect. Here's how it's supposed to happen. And if somebody's going above and beyond that, especially in terms of price, you really need to start asking questions or find somebody else. So, yeah, thanks for that. And then her last question is, does Presto do work in East Tennessee? And if not, what can you suggest perhaps in that area?
Let me do a little research.
Great. Yeah.
We do not do work in East Tennessee, but I do know an agent out there, and I'll see if there's somebody that she could recommend. So Sherry, if you would do me a favor and email me or text me at the numbers that you saw on the screen, the email on the screen, that would be great. One more thing I would ask, that if you guys are going to hire a real estate agent in your area, and it's not the Chicago area, because I'm your person in the Chicago, the greater Northern Illinois area, make sure that agent has the letters SRES behind their name. That is a senior real estate specialist. It's a certification that the National Organization of Realtors bestows on you after you take some classes, and it really helps with the mindset of working with seniors and the different needs and emotions that go along with working with seniors. So,
okay, and you said it was SRCS?
SRES.
ES. Okay,
Yes.
and I'm putting that in the
real estate specialist.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. That is a great tip. So write that down or jot that down if you're planning on moving anytime soon. A senior mom and dad happens to be involved, or you're a senior and you want to make that move, make sure you find a proper agent to help you do this. Another very, very good tip. And Sherry says, thank you so much. Great information, great tip. And they have all been great tips today, Joanne. Excellent job with this webinar. We thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing all of your wonderful knowledge with our viewers.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Now, for all of you watching, this webinar that we've had today with Joanne will be sent to your email, the one you used to RSVP for this webinar. You can, of course, share that link with your friends, your family. Just watch it again, jot down the notes if you missed them. If you came in late, you can watch the full webinar starting tomorrow afternoon. Now, also, if you're curious about some of our other content about senior living, you can head on over to our website, www.seniorlivinglive.com. We have professionals just like Joanne who lend their expertise to arm you with as many facts as possible all about senior living. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you all soon. Have a great day, everybody.